Hi, I'm Francesca Anastasi. Years ago, on one of my birthdays, I was gifted my very first business. It came with a staff of 3, and I soon found out that I could not fire or let go any of them as long as the business existed. I had no business experience, and I had to rely on what the 3 of them would share, but I figured they'll fill me in. How hard can it be? Well, let me describe you the first meeting. Amber was the first one in the room, and she was well dressed, well put together with a big smile. She gave me a firm handshake, and you could tell that she was very happy to meet me. Earlier, I had noticed on her desk were motivational quotes, a beautiful vision board, and the cutest stuffed unicorn. Next to arrive in the room was Mrs. Commodore. I like to call her Mrs. C. She hesitated at the door, so I motioned her in. She seemed kind and caring. She asked me if I would like a cup of coffee and handed me the cup that she had prepared for me just the way I like it. She knew I love coffee. Last through the door was Billy. No hesitation this time, but she stopped about 5 feet away from me, far enough that we could not shake hands. She looked me up and down and said, "You are the new boss?" She gave me a big eye roll and proceeded to sit down. Now, Billy is not a big person. In fact, she's quite small. Had she not spoken, I would not have even noticed her walking in the room. But for her voice, it is one of those voices that you just don't forget. Now, Amber was very excited and started the meeting by sharing all her new ideas to help grow the company and go into a whole new direction, while Mrs. C responded with a list of all the things that could go wrong. She stated that she felt it would be too risky to change anything and it would be best to keep everything as they are. And Billy, well, she made fun of Amber's ideas, told her to go back to her desk and hug her unicorn, and then looked at Mrs. C and demanded her cup of coffee. This was pretty much the same for every other future meeting. Very little got done. So as for me, I really didn't know what to do, and it didn't take long for me to step back and just let them run the show until early January 2001. I was in a divorce battle that had been dragging for over 2 years. And when I left my 14-year marriage, I did not have a job. My ex had not been keen on me working, and as a result, I had little work experience. He gave me money for groceries, nothing else. I had slowly been able to save $2,000 from the leftover grocery money. I rented a tiny basement suite for me and my 9-year-old to live in. I found a job that paid enough to cover the bills, but not any extras, especially the legal fees that had been piling up. Around that time, my daughter and I were spending the holidays with some friends who lived out of town. And while we were away, I got a phone call. "Are you sitting down?" My friend on the other end asked me. "You need to sit down. Someone set fire to your place. So don't bother coming back earlier. They're not letting anyone near the house. It is now a crime scene because your landlord died in the fire and everything is damaged. And by the way, Tiger, which is my cat, got run over a few days before the fire." Now, let me give you some background before we continue. Beginning with when I was a child, I've experienced multiple forms of abuse: emotional, financial, physical, and sexual. When I was a child, somebody very close to me broke my nose. Much later, I had corrective surgery, but in the meantime, my broken nose was there for all to see. When I was 8, my teacher in Italy told my mom that I was dumber than a donkey. And a few years later, I was being sexually abused by a priest. So I grew up being told that I was ugly and stupid, and that my only purpose in this world was to submit, to have kids, and to perform my duties as a wife. I came to believe it. I felt and thought like a victim. I blamed everything and everyone for all that had been happening to me. I felt sorry for myself. And now the fire had taken the little that we had. I didn't have house insurance. That was simply beyond my means. So, as I sat there, taking in the news, I saw two directions in front of me. One, be a victim, embrace poverty, welfare, depression, and continue to feel sorry for myself. And two, the unknown, a dark tunnel, unable to see any light at the end. I had to choose. A future that looked a lot like the past did not appeal to me at all. So I chose the unknown path. I decided that I would take this bull by the horns and ride it with all I've got. And my ride had just begun. When 10 days later, after I returned to work, I got called by the company supervisor where I worked, and with tears in his eyes, he said to me, "I'm so sorry, Francesca. I have to do this. The company's not doing well, and we're letting everybody go." I hadn't even found another place for us to live yet. It was going to be even harder without a job. In the span of 10 days, we lost everything. We were homeless, and I was jobless. I looked for work. I had interviews almost every day, but no one was hiring me. I was told that I was underqualified or overqualified or not the right fit. Months went by with no success. Then 9/11 happened and the interviews stopped. No one was hiring during that somber time. And now my unemployment insurance was running out. I had to do something. And I decided that if no one was going to hire me, I'd have to hire myself. This would be on my terms and it would be doing something that I loved doing. So I decided to open a dance studio. I applied and I was accepted into a self-employment program. I proved that I had a market, which is what got me accepted into the program. But still, the business advisors were very skeptical about my target market. Adult beginners who had missed out on dance classes when they were younger. A couple of them even told me straight up it would not work. But I believed 100% that I had a viable business idea. After I completed the course, I found studio space to rent. I did the marketing as I had learned it in the program. I did my first open house and no one showed up. I sat in the middle of the dance floor. Not one person came through the door, except for my 3 faithful employees from the other business. Amber, Mrs. C, and Billy. And of course, they each had something to say. I listened. Billy began. "Your business advisors were right. It's not going to work. And even if there is a potential market, you don't have what it takes." Maybe Billy was right, I thought for a moment. Then Mrs. C chimed in. "Why don't you just apply for government assistance? Then you don't have to worry about working so hard." No, I thought, that is not an option. And then Amber asked, "Your market research showed people are very interested in what you have to offer, right? Then all you need to do is figure out what the missing link is. Why did these people not come today?" She was right. So I developed a new marketing strategy. 6 months later, after that first open house, I relaunched and sold out all my classes. And within 18 months, I took the business from 0 to 6 figures, and I grew it to multiple 6 figures from there. Amber, Mrs. C, and Billy are not real people. They are the voices and thoughts that we all have in our heads. They influence our decisions every moment of every day. Amber is the voice of our ambitions and dreams. Mrs. C is our comfort zone and the voice of procrastination. And Billy is the bully, the inner critic who addresses our vulnerability. Now, as any good leader in a company would do, to succeed in the business of our own life, before we make a decision, we must listen to what each voice has to say equally, because we need them all. We need to question and analyze the validity. And in the end, just like any good leader would, any good cheerleader would, you make a wiser and final decision. Amber's ideas may be great. Sometimes some of those ideas need to wait, and sometimes they're not good at all. Mrs. C's fears are legitimate, calculated risks versus reward that can appease her. And what's the worst that can really happen? Billy targets our vulnerability. It is our job to either object, question the validity, or work on being better. As the CEO of your own life, you were born equipped with what you need. When a challenge comes your way and you may find yourself alone, remember that you have a built-in board of advisors to help you along. You're going to succeed in whatever you put your mind to. How do I know? Your odds of being born were 1 in 400 trillion. You have already proven that the odds are already in your favor.